Greetings! Welcome to Film Gazers, a podcast focusing on the science fiction, horror, fantasy trinity, and 20th century entertainment. I'm Steph.
I'm Jess. We're cousins/besties. Join us as we reminisce, discuss, and review films from our childhood.
Meowdy.
Melody.
It's a holly jolly Cannibal Christmas. We'd like to welcome everyone to sit by the fire with us.
Yes, join us for dinner.
So, we had already announced Ravenous.
Mm-hmm.
We have decided to save that specifically for the Christmas episode. Because it's Christmas Eve, guys, and it's going to be Ravenous.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thought it was perfect. Mwah, perfect timing.
It really is. And I didn't even notice that when we...
Yeah, we're figuring out schedules.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I didn't either. So, with that, we had to hurry up and figure out what we were going to do for this episode. And Jess picked Ravenous, straight away. She came up with the theme. So, I got to contribute something. So, I started looking through Google and looking up anything that was kind of labeled as remotely like a cannibal movie. There were the obvious choices. Silence of the Lambs, more of the other horror, like the hillbilly kind of horror movies, know, where you're getting eaten by some weird cannibal guy too that lives in the woods. I just wanted to kind of do something maybe I hadn't seen before, because I've been rewatching a lot of stuff lately,
Mm-hmm.
so I was just like, I just need something I haven't seen.
Cleanse your palate.
Yes, and The Living Dead Girl popped up on a lot of lists, and when I read the short synopsis, I almost felt like, because I almost chose Jennifer's Body,
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of sounded similar to where I'm like, oh, it sounds like something Jennifer's Body may have been inspired by a little bit and everything. And then, of course, the Rob Zombie song.
Was it inspired by
I don't know. When I was
Okay.
looking through stuff, I didn't see anything specific, but I also forgot to, look it up specifically. I should have, because I was so much involved with looking at... I got down a wormhole about the director, so you'll get a little info about that later.
Juicy.
Yeah. So I will say just beforehand, you could constitute that this is not a cannibal movie, technically. I think, as someone could argue that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still going to say it. I mean, there is some people eaten to an extent.
Flesh is being ripped.
Yes, at different times. A lot of
Blood
people
has drunk
might consider it a little more vampire.
I was going to say it's more vampiric.
Yeah.
To me.
But, I mean, I didn't know all that.
It was a nice lesbian love story.
It was a very nice lesbian love story tale. So, before we go too far into what the episode is, what else have you been watching and doing?
I watched the series on Netflix that came out recently, The Man Inside with Ted Danson.
The Man Inside or The Inside Man? Which one is it?
I think it's The Man Inside or The Man on the Inside.
Okay. I vaguely remember
Or maybe
seeing
it is
the
the
little...
Inside Man. I thought it was The Man on the Inside. Something like that. It was really cute.
Mm.
I enjoyed it. It's where he's going undercover in a nursing home.
Okay.
Because there's a theft and somebody hires a PI.
Mm.
And she's young. So she's like, how could I possibly infiltrate a nursing home? She needs an old man.
So she...
or an old person.
She contracts him out.
Basically.
He's like a temp.
He's a temp to be her inside man on the inside.
Nice.
So it was really cute.
Sounds like it would be wholesome.
It was.
Yeah, family friendly. And
Yeah.
to an extent.
To an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have had some adult things in there.
Mm.
It was a few weeks ago when I watched it now. So
Yeah.
You know how my memories are. But it was cute, and I love Ted Danson. And then I watched, I've also been watching My Wife and Kids.
Oh, you got in on that, did you?
Got in on that. I put it on the other day just when we were eating, and I was like, oh, let's just put this on real quick. And then I got invested, and I was like, this is better than I thought it was going to be. And I remembered how much I loved Damon Wayans.
Oh, man. Going back for me and rewatching it, I kind of felt a little opposite. I'm like, some of it, I'm like, ugh.
I just mean him as an actor.
I know.
Not
I guess the character a little bit.
Yeah. The character can be totally off-putting at times because he can be misogynistic.
And overly so in a weird way.
But then it's also television. 2001.
That's what I have to keep remembering.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was on later. And then I forget
and it's
it
supposed
wasn't.
to be kind of, alternative to the regular family. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it's supposed to be Full House.
No, definitely not. Yeah, like it's not just the cheesy, overly one-dimensional sitcom.
Right. And
I love
it
does have more to
Junior,
it than that.
I think he is hilarious.
Yeah, the kid, that actor, he's so good. Like,
he's so
I
good
really like him. Them going back and forth with the one sister was a little weird. Andrew and I looked into it.
I did too.
And it seems like one of the mother was uncomfortable with the like teenage pregnancy scares storylines and then something else. But why did the other girl leave then and the other one came back? That's what I didn't see.
I saw that. It's because that was a pre-recorded episode.
Oh.
So that's why they aired that one. I don't know why they even aired it.
But this was like they had already had a whole season.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Because it said she was replaced except for one episode that was pre-recorded, is what I found.
Oh, crazy. Okay.
And then, because that confused me too, and I was like, what the fuck is it?
I was like, so did she come back?
No, and you can tell because everybody looks a little bit younger.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was like second season, so it was weird that they put it in there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad you looked up that much because I didn't see the...
No, because it bothered me that much.
Yeah, it really bothered me too because I'm like, what is
I'm
this?
gonna get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then last night, me and my mom watched the new Beetlejuice movie, Beetlejuice.
How was it?
It was cute.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton definitely didn't have the same voice as Beetlejuice. He didn't really talk a whole lot. He just kind of like said like a few one-liners, but he just had the voice like he just had that part of the Beetlejuice voice, but he didn't have the rest of the
full
what do they call that, bravado or whatever. Like I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, and then he's just so old. He's in his 70s now, and it just made me kind of sad watching it. And I think Winona Ryder, like, it kind of surprised me of how much she's aged as well. Because I think Tim Burton, too, just likes to pile on the makeup. He likes everybody to look pale in his movies. And when you get older, you can't put on a lot of makeup. Like, it makes your face look worse, I think.
Yeah.
And especially with HD TVs.
Yeah, and she doesn't look very old in Stranger Things. Like, even the last the newest seasons that she was in, her makeup is more natural.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So I can see how you're saying that. Because everyone always looks, you have to look dead in a Tim Burton movie. Like.
Right, exactly. And they do pile on like that.
Under your eyes and stuff.
And when you're of a certain age, like,
I don't even
settle and crease.
I don't even wear eyeliner on my bottom.
I don't either anymore.
I quit.
I don't even put concealer under my eye anymore.
I have
settles in my
a little bit, but I found a kind that doesn't settle. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I'll show you it. I
guess. And that's all I've been watching.
Well, I'm sorry, Beetlejuice wasn't up to the hype.
I mean, it wasn't.
No.
Terrible. It had Justin Theroux in it. It was funny.
It feels like these movies they're doing though, they're just such nostalgia grabs. And like you said, they're not necessarily bad, but they're just almost bittersweet. And it kind of taints some of the
memory of it. But the problem also is that I would be fine if it was more of a nostalgia grab because like Beetlejuice really wasn't even in the movie. The main star of the movie was Jenny Ortega pretty much. Which is fine, but I was like, that's not what I'm here to see. I'm here to see Beetlejuice. Like, I'm not saying I don't like her. I'm saying I'm here to see Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And
I'm like, otherwise, why don't you guys just make really fun, new, dark comedy universes and characters for Jenna Ortega to play? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we know she can capture that vibe, but they keep throwing her and just, I mean, it's the Addams Family. It's the Beetlejuice. Yeah. Like... they have her as like the next Nicole Richie. Where did that come from? I was on my phone and I'm getting like some stupid advertisements for Nicole and Paris Hilton having some new
Simple
reality, like Simple Life thing. No, Christina Ricci and like Winona Ryder, but then it's just rehashes of those women's work.
Yeah, same movies.
Yeah, I'm like. I mean, I'm sure, I think she has been in some original stuff, right? I don't know. Hollywood is in such a rehash, remake kind of like funnel right now.
And it's like they don't put any real thought, or like the acting is kind of like,
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it's kind of made for TV,
Well,
almost.
because they're checking in because they're giving shit material, I feel like, to an extent.
That's what I'm saying. The writing's
yeah.
not there.
It's
and
not
it's got
there.
it's got Tim Burton was there. You got Winona Ryder. You got Justin Theroux. You got, you know what I mean? Like, you got big name people.
You do, but also these are like, again, I mean, I like a good Tim Burton movie, so do not take this out of any wrong context. But, like, he's getting older. Like, we've seen there, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the new stuff isn't new.
Yeah.
We're just rehashing, kind of.
Right.
And then, like I said, the more we go further back, like in today's episode, going back to this film, yeah, it may not have been really good, but you can see, like, a lot of different things that people probably got inspiration from this film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to where everything now just feels like something from something else we saw.
It's because we're old.
I think so.
Because I'm pretty sure my mom said the exact same thing when she was my age. When they came out with, like, Starsky and Hutch and...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You know, the Bond movies, and then it came out with a lot of stuff that came out from the 70s and the 90s when we were kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
It just begats itself in a cycle.
It is the wheel of time.
Oh, speaking of just rewatching things, though, I have now started Dragon Ball, the original.
Nice.
Because I can't not have Dragon Ball in my life, and this is exactly why the
Super
nostalgia machine keeps churning them out.
Yep.
Watching the original, it is a totally different show, for sure. You know, because he's a child. It's just him and Bulma kind of to start, which is interesting. It's very, like, funny and, you know, more of that just style of cartoon. I mean, it was made in the, I think, early 80s, you know, so it still has that look about it as well. Nice animation, like, with the frame rates and everything. Just different. You know, you can just see that difference when you watch, like, a cartoon made nowadays, you know, compared to then. So I'm still really enjoying it. It's kind of messed up in parts. Like, he's never seen a girl until Bulma, so then he doesn't realize about, like...
Boobies.
No, well, even how your junk works. Like, he was ended up laying on her or something, fell asleep, because they're, like, camping out because they're looking for Dragon Balls. And then, he's, like, laying on her, he's like, oh, this is flat, like, because she doesn't have a penis and balls.
Yeah.
And then he's, like, looking, and she's like, what are you doing? Because he has no concept of, like, any of that, essentially. He was raised by, like, his little hermit grandfather, like, in the mountains and stuff. Like, he doesn't even know what TV or any of that is, and she's, like, having to show him. And so, but it's, like, obviously inappropriate. And then, so he'll just go to women, and he just taps them on the crotch. He's like, yep. You're a girl. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah,
so
you can't say that.
Obviously that would not fly today. Or ever. But yeah, it was definitely, seems like a big part of the early episodes so far. But looking past that, it is just more adventure, you know, so it's not just people, like, powering up and stuff. Like, it's definitely more if we're on an adventure and we're going to go do this.
That sounds soothing.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it'll be something that I'll also like in the Dragon Ball franchise. So far, I've liked everything I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I also watched Kiki's Delivery Service from my Cozy list. So I've been doing a lot of animation, obviously. I find animation very soothing and cozy.
Mm-hmm. Sure,
and Kiki's Delivery Service is, if you just want a movie where there is not going to be, like, the worst thing to happen isn't really that horrible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so soothing.
Nothing anxiety.
Nothing anxiety inducing. And the animation is just so beautiful. You know, it's a Ghibli film. Like,
what's it streaming on?
I don't know. I have it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we own almost all of the Ghibli movies.
I think they're probably on Disney. I think Studio.
Yeah, I think they probably are. Yeah. So yeah, we watched that. That was really nice. I had never actually seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, all the way. I only knew, like, bits and parts, and it's adorable. And then we also watched Tommy Boy.
Always a good one.
Always a good one.
Classic.
And then we've just been watching Reba. And a little bit of Survivor. Andrew's friend is really into Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked us, like, oh, do you want to, like, watch this season? And then, like, we can talk about it. And we're like, yeah, sure. So, and now we're full on where I'm like, that guy's shady. No, you can't trust that bitch.
Yeah, he told me when he came to get the cat.
He adopted a cat from Jess.
He did. He adopted a kitten from me. He said, I got Stephanie and Andrew on it. I'm gonna get you on it too. And I was like, I mean, I've watched reality competition shows.
Yeah.
I enjoy that, so it just never one I watched.
Yeah, it wasn't one I've ever really watched a lot of. Well, I mean, a lot of it is like, working the crowd, like working these people and stuff, and like that's why I like the baking shows because I just love baking. So I want to see them like making something.
I mean, I love like RuPaul's Drag Race.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. I used to always like Project Runway, like
watched all of those,
like fashion ones.
Mm-hmm. Also, like the makeup ones.
Yeah, those are fun.
Things that people show their skills and get.
Skill sets. Yes. Well, with that, in this episode, we watched 1982's The Living Dead Girl, La Morte Vivante.
Oh, fancy.
I have no idea if that's how you would say it in French or not. I felt like I said it more Spanish.
It sounded Italian.
I don't know. The release date was August 25th, 1982, and it is 86 minutes. It was directed by Jean Rollin. It was written by Jacques Ralph and Jean Rollin. It was produced by Sam Selsky. It was starring Marina Piero, Francois Blanchard, Mike Marshall, Karina Barone, Fanny Maggieri, Patricia Besnard-Rousseau, and Sam Selsky. It was edited by Jeanette Kronager. Music by Philippe Aram. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I kind of went into a rabbit hole about the director a little bit. He led an interesting life for sure. And I found a lot of this information from cultcollectibles.com. There was actually an interview that had been done with him at one point. And it was by Peter Blumenstock at Roland's apartment in Paris in May of 1995 from Video Watchdog magazine. I had to go deep.
No.
And then I had to actually use a lot of the Wikipedia and just look at the sources to kind of troll through it myself to find specifically about this movie.
Right.
Or any kind of reference to it a little bit. Okay, so the shooting of the movie itself was very hard for Francois. And she is the living dead girl. She did collapse during the final scene where she's killing Helene, and she's covered with blood. And apparently the stench of the fake blood was just like awful and gut-wrenching. It was supposed to be just really bad. She was tired. The shoot was really complicated because it was like in the dark with the way the lighting is and all of that stuff. So she had to freak out in front of everybody, at the end. And then everybody was silent after I said cut because nobody was sure whether she was just acting or collapsing for real. Like, it was that kind of madness of a scene.
She gave it her all.
She really did. Everyone so just stared and waited. And then she was like, well, are we finished now or what? She was ready to be done. So she did really collapse later, too, from sheer exhaustion. And they did have to call a doctor to come in. And it's like a little country farmer doctor because they rented this chateau and stuff. And she's like half naked, like covered in this fake blood. And they had to they're like, he was on the verge of calling the police, I'm sure. Like,
he's like, what the fuck is going on here?
And she assured him, she was like, I'm not a human sacrifice. I'm just dead on my ass. And that was the quote that I had from that. Marina Perrault was also in the film. She was Helene, and she had played in Valerian Borowczyk. It's he was a Polish director. I'm going to butcher that name. When I looked a little bit further, too, this was also, I believe, her husband, and so she was in his films. But it was called Dr. Jekyll et les Femmes. He said he enjoyed working with her, although I have to say she was very vain and was more preoccupied with her appearance than anything else. I had a lot of discussions with her because she thought I wasn't presenting her properly on the screen. And when he was asked if he was pleased how the film turned out, he said, yes. He's like, there are some very good things in it, but of course we had to make certain commercial concessions. the whole idea of the chemical waste was not very good, and it was just thrown in there for better or for worse. He said it would have been better if this girl had come back from the dead because her girlfriend hadn't kept her end of the suicide pact / promise, which
would make a lot more sense.
Exactly. He said commercially, though, it was one of his more successful films that he ever made. It won the Special Audience Prize at the Fanta Festival in Rome. He loved the parts where she was returning to the castle and kind of getting her memories back and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
He was not pleased with the interjected shots of the American couple. He didn't film that, apparently, I guess. That was more of... there was an American writer there to translate the dialogue into English, and then they got all that stuff was kind of, I guess, added with American actors. So there was a disconnect a lot of times, and that seems to be a pattern through this man's life as well with every film he's tried to make. He is apparently one of the, like, what some would consider the forefathers of, like, erotic vampire, like, cinema.
Okay.
And he all has, like, undertones of... just this, kind of gothic, erotic fantasies.
Yeah.
And very inclusive, though. I mean, a lot of it does seem centered around lesbian affairs and things like that, and more strong-willed female characters.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that on one hand. But on the other hand, slippery slope, and he's done a bunch of pornography films. And a lot of the times throughout his career, he's doing this to back the films that he's actually trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and one film that he tried, it was like one of his, like, really big passion projects he wanted to work on, and he still has eroticism and lovemaking in his films, but it's not straight up pornography. Like, it's like this kind of stuff, like,
mm-hmm.
he likes very haunting, like, apparently, as some people describe it as, like, static, like, paintings almost, like the way he films his scenes, and everything's very slow, I guess. So I can appreciate it to an extent, but yeah, he always, like, when you're reading...
everything to be a still
I don't know,
shot.
but as you're reading this guy, just every time he's trying to make a movie, and then, like, somehow he has to concede with, like, even the production, things like that, or the people give him the money, and they're like, okay, well, you can kind of do what you want to do, but then you have to direct, like, 5 of our pornos, like, kind of thing. So, like, he always found himself going back and forth, basically. But on the cooler side of it, he also would employ a lot of the erotic actors to be in his films because he would see the people who actually might have had some talent for acting.
Right.
So it was actually kind of crucial. And then there was even a story talking about how one of the girls he was having acting, she had a talent agent basically that was, like, screwing her over and, like, had kind of taken the money she would have made from the film that he did. Like, apparently he was on her side and helped her get her money back and everything.
Nice.
So, like, I read some stuff where he sounds like he, was kind of this guy who, and they're French and everything. The nudity and all that stuff isn't in the way that we look at it. So it seems like this was kind of just his...
To me, it seemed gratuitous.
But that's exactly... And now it made sense why, though. After I read all this, I was like, oh, okay. Like, now I get it. I get it. Like, it's not my personal cup of tea necessarily, but I at least now know where he's coming from.
Right.
And the poor guy tries, and then a lot of times when he makes, like, what he's truly wanting to make, no one's really liked it that much. But apparently in some circles he's very revered as well. Like, on Letterboxd, it had very high ratings. Like,
this movie?
Yeah, people are giving it, like, 4 stars and stuff.
Wow.
Again, for certain reasons, I guess I could see the lesbian love story, I guess, is what a lot of people commented on. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just that it was represented, probably is, like, a big deal to many people. But yeah, but a lot of people felt the opposite way as well, because it was banned in Germany in 1986 for the explicit scenes of violence and gore. So that's really in Europe. And that's the thing too, was he did this as, like, a horror movie. I think instead of making an erotic film completely, I think he told the person, like, hey, I could shoot you a horror film in the same amount of time in, like, 9 days or something like that.
Wow.
And, like, it may not have been this film, but it was one of the many of more the horror genre. So he also wasn't really big on the gore, considering how much it is a big part in a couple of areas of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was interesting, and that's why it was banned in Germany. And then the film was released direct-to-video in the UK in 94, and most of its scenes were removed or shortened. So that is a big thing, too, is a lot of people, I guess, probably never saw the movie whole as well.
Right.
So who knows what they were seeing before in that context. But with that, Jessica's going to take it away that you Google summary. So now you get a better idea of what the hell we're talking about.
A beautiful heiress brought back from the dead by a toxic spill must quench her insatiable thirst for blood.
All right. Well, obviously, we had never seen this one before. It was new to us. Has a very classic intro. You just have the text. It was like the red background, the white.
Yes.
Honestly, I will say straight up, I kind of got a little bit of Long Legs vibes, though.
I did too.
Did you?
I did.
Okay.
From, like the coloring and
the coloring and then the lighting. And that's what I meant when I said earlier, where I'm like, I watched this film, and while, in my opinion, I'll go ahead and we'll straight out the gate, I gave it 2.5 out of 5.
I'm like, I give it like 1.5.
Really? Yeah.
I had some okay parts, but all in all, I'm like, terrible.
Yeah. I stuck at the 2.5. I felt it was middle of the line. For, like I said, for some of the reasons that I mentioned, like I can see the influence, the kind of art style a little bit. I didn't hate it, like that necessarily. But yes, it's kind of boring in parts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's too static. Like, there's only so much of her, like, languidly walking through a chateau. Like,
right.
Yes, the chateau was beautiful, though.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
Wouldn't want to live there, but yeah.
Yeah.
And so many plot holes.
Yeah, and that's, again, where if it would have just went probably a little more of what the director had in mind, I think it would have been way more solid of a film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, then you could have said, like, okay, solid 3 stars. Like, I think it would have been...
more middle of the road.
A more middle of the road horror, but again, with the undertones that it also had, like, it could have captured that pretty nicely. But yeah, they straight off, we get a chemical spill, like guys putting barrels in a vault underneath
funny about
somewhere.
that, underneath somewhere, isn't it her vault? Because they later go back.
Yes, but it's supposed to be just, they're large vaults. Like, they mentioned that the vaults run, like, I think under the whole property and, like,
of
house
the chateau
area. Yeah, of the
okay.
chateau. So there's, like, different areas of the vault.
Okay, that
so
makes
they're
more sense.
storing this chemical waste they've been just piling up.
But
over
why there?
A period of time. See, that's where it's stupid.
That,
like,
and then also,
I guess
he
because
says the gas
town
is
knows-
so toxic that you can't go down there without wrapping your face with that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But
and
Helene is down there constantly.
Everybody's else is down there, and
Yeah.
they make no mention of the gas.
No. And then I almost wondered when there was times when she wants to keep going down into the vault, and she's like, oh, I deserve to be here or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought, was it because the gas was down there and that was like making her stay alive at first? Like, that's what I'm saying. They open with the gas. You think it's going to either be more important or more dangerous or like
right, there's something else to do
and
with
it's
it.
just never really
No.
referenced again.
I was assuming she kept going back down there just to like get back in her coffin. That's what I thought. Her
Yeah.
forever box.
Her forever box.
But right away, the eye gouging scene.
I know. And then that was
And I'm like, so first off, why does she have nails like that?
She's perfectly manicured, spiky nails, and they were gorgeous.
But they were like monster nails still.
I know.
Like,
I loved it.
They had that They had that then? Like, she woke up with nails like that, and then, like, straight away, poke.
Well, you gotta think when you die, your nails keep growing some.
That's true.
So she just was perfectly, hers were done that way. Yeah, and you get auto eye gouging. And then I had high hopes when I was watching this. Like,
but they were so sharp, they could, like, puncture a throat.
I know. I was like, it's so cool. Like, this will be great. So they start you off on this kind of, like, thrill and all this blood and gore, which is so funny that that's, like, a lot of the problem that everyone has. And I'm like, I love it. I thought it was great.
Oh, like, 1982? Wasn't there gore things out by then?
I don't know. I don't know how Europe was about them, though, at the time.
Okay.
You know? My cinema knowledge does not contain much info.
That's what I wrote. Damn, she got some sharp nails.
So, yeah, she kills these people. But that's the thing, even in the beginning, they just show her killing them.
Mm-hmm.
And
no reason why.
And no reason really why, yeah. Like, because they're not showing her eat them or drink their blood.
Exactly.
So that's another thing where I was like, okay.
She doesn't wake up with that craving.
Yeah. But then she starts wandering around and goes now to the main chateau area or whatever.
The castle. And
then this is when we mentioned there's like American couple scenes that are like interjected with it a little bit. So they see her walking and basically the chateau, and she looks ethereal almost because she was wearing all white. And I like how they had her covered in blood, and then in the next scene after the eye gouging, it was only like 3 spots.
3 little drops.
3 little drops.
And the blood, whatever that fake blood they were using, looked terrible. It was like watery.
Yeah, but it also looked like watery but opaque at the same time.
Yeah, like did not look like blood.
And knowing that they said it smelled awful, I'm like, what was it? Yeah, I don't know.
Some kind of like gelatin.
I don't know. It was very bright. The coloring was almost uncomfortable. And that's where I said I almost had like Long Legs vibes, like through certain things with the way the coloring and the lighting. And it did have this like that flat. It's flat but not flat, like that overexposure but not overexposed. Like it's hard to describe sometimes.
So it's like they brightened things but then didn't brighten
yeah. It has a filter effect to it of some kind that it feels like its own little vibe for sure.
I did think some of the special effects were pretty good for 1982, like the makeup and stuff.
Yeah.
And thought that was good.
Especially the end scene. Mm-hmm. That was well done with that. Yeah. And we'll get further into that a little later. But yeah, basically the main plot is the American lady sees this woman and is just like kind of almost inspired by her because the girl is gorgeous.
She reminds me of Gwyneth Paltrow a little bit.
But like a pretty version.
Yeah. Prettier, yeah. For sure.
I don't know. I've never really liked Gwyneth Paltrow that much.
Something about that reminded me of her. But yeah, she was beautiful.
Yeah, she was very beautiful. There is a lot of nudity.
I thought both of them were beautiful, actually.
Yeah, they were both very beautiful.
Because the other one kind of reminded me of Liv Tyler a little bit.
A little bit, but she had this perfect like gap between her teeth. Like they each had like such a look about them each. Yeah. Like, you know, like they
opposite but beautiful.
Exactly. And it almost kind of made sense too of their friendship and their love for one another. Mm-hmm. Like that they almost were like these opposites attract almost kind of. Yeah. They had that kind of relationship. And that's why I give this movie 2.5 because I felt like the underlying plot, like, and if they would have stuck with it, it sounds like it could have been much, more.
And if they could have explained why, because at one point Helene was like, "I didn't know you were, they kept me away," or was basically saying that she didn't know she was even dead.
Yeah, it sounds to me an implication. Yeah, because what we find out is that as she walks through the chateau, because she goes into what, was her own home at one point, and she finally does get memories coming back. We see bits of a brunette girl with her, and they make like a blood oath together to basically be kind of like...
As children.
Yeah, as children want to do. And they say basically that whoever goes first, the other one would follow, like that kind of stuff. So obviously they were very close together. Mm-hmm. And they show Helene. Helene is the brunette, the friend on that end. And then Catherine is, Valmont is the living dead girl. Mm-hmm. And Helene, they do show her, but she's obviously been an adult. They say, we do gather later that Catherine has been dead for like 2 years. Yeah. So that means that they had obviously been in their 20s though, like well into their 20s. Well, bitch, it's been 2 years and you ain't dead. like, in terms of their,
Oh, right.
like, pact or whatever. So, I mean, it just seems like...
But it seemed like they lost contact before she died.
They must... I was like, did they lose contact or what? Because...
I wish they would have explained some of that.
They didn't explain that very well. And that's kind of what the director references is wishing he got to film more of that, I think is what he would have preferred. And that's why I'm like, okay, if we would have got this information, I think this could have been a fairly solid, like, almost sad kind of horror film, you know?
Kind of like, what was that one that we watched? The Final Girls?
Yeah.
It was more sad than
it was like more just like sad than scary. And that's exactly the problem with this film, because they're probably right. The gore probably isn't needed because it's not a scary film. Like, even her walking through, like I said, the scenes are beautiful and kind of haunting in a way, but it's not scary. Like,
well, and then like when she realizes that she has to either eat people or drink blood to stay alive, because she's not really alive.
Yeah.
She goes out and finds her victim to eat. Like, I thought that was pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
For her to have to, do that. And then, like, how she was running away, like...
Yeah.
Trying not to listen to her cries.
Because, it gets to that point, basically.
And I was like, why do the two guys in the vault die instantly, and the women take years to die? Way after you think they should be dead.
Obviously, these men just give out easier than the women in this area. They seem pretty tough. Yeah, because that's what basically happens. That's where I'm saying Helene calls the chateau trying to speak to Catherine's mother is who she was calling.
Okay.
And she doesn't realize that, I guess the mom had just recently died and passed. So, but she didn't even know the mother was dead.
I guess.
Like, they don't really, again, and then, then she knows to just go there, you know? Like
why would she go there at night?
Because Catherine answers the phone, and, like, I guess she thinks maybe something's wrong with the mom, because apparently she doesn't know she's dead. So, that's what,
the short-haired lady that got killed.
The photographer? Oh, no, she was the realtor.
That's okay. That's what my question was. She was the realtor, right?
Yeah,
okay. And she just wanted to bring her dude over to
fuck? Yeah, to fuck in the chateau. Because she's like, oh, look, I'm showing this really nice,
let's go fuck in a castle.
Yeah, let's go fuck in a castle. And that's how it starts. As you had the American couple that you see that caught glimpses of her, and then you have the realtor, and then she'd been walking in. She walked in when the realtor was doing shit. It's just supposed to be gigantic, and they didn't really cross paths.
And the realtor, was up where her childhood room was.
Leaves and comes back, and by that point, Catherine's been haunting around the fucking house.
Playing piano.
And they don't explain in the beginning, though, if she's like, oh yeah, she's evil or this or that. But again, all the first people she kills in the very beginning, she doesn't drink their blood or anything.
Right. She just kills them for kind of no reason.
Yeah, that's really what it feels like. Yeah, because they aren't bothering her at first. And these people weren't doing anything to her. Like, you know, I mean, they were just fucking on the couch. Yeah. You get full bush. There's a lot of bush in this movie.
A lot of triangle bush.
A lot of triangle bush. And it looks like it's been teased out.
Picked.
Yeah,
It's funny because I was like, 1982, that's still a remnant of the 70s.
Yeah, because they were big.
To where, like we discussed earlier, the man that she brought to fuck, the realtor brought to fuck, his bush was so large, I didn't even see his peen.
Oh, yeah, there was one moment, they had this one angle, and I happened to be looking up at this at the right time. I was like, whoa! I was like, that... Because you just don't see that often in a lot of movies. Yeah. They really, you know, the peen is the one thing that's usually the least
so
shown.
Taboo.
Yeah.
Which I wonder why. Why is that so graphic, but full frontal female nudity is not?
I have no idea.
Because people want to see that, I guess.
I guess so.
Nobody really wants to see a peen.
Perhaps. So yeah, and then this is where it all culminates. She's killed the realtor and the boyfriend, and then Helene shows up.
And I love how the realtor runs out of the house and dies spread eagle.
Spread eagle, naked, like upside down on the front chateau steps.
Spread eagle.
Yeah, very graphic. And then, Helene shows up, sees this shit, and is like, what the fuck is going on?
And if I saw that, I'd be like, time to go. No way I'd go walk inside, because I'm like, killer's obviously still in there.
Yeah. Nope, she walks her ass in there and finds her friend. And she's like, oh my God. And that's where you said it when you were saying, "Oh, I didn't see you," blah blah blah. Like, "Oh, they've had you locked away or something."
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's weird for her to bring that, but I guess because at this point, why would she believe she came back from the dead?
I don't think she did. She thought that she wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, she thought they faked
Yeah.
the death and stuff, or they were just trying to hide. Yeah, something happened, and they've just been trying to hide her away or something. So that's understandable. Like, yeah, to the extent. But just then, she still tries to believe that as she's killing people to feed to her friend.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, your mind could not possibly believe that somebody came back from the dead.
Yeah. So they kind of really, and it's like the race starts like now because you kind of, that's where she gathers that she likes to eat the blood. Helene just like barely notices this and just fucking dips out and goes immediately. Like, she literally doesn't even have to think about it. Like, there is not a thought of like, should I be doing this? No. She just goes and fucking does it. She's like, I am a ride or die bitch. My friend needs me.
I mean, she's fucking loyal.
Yeah, she is. And then she like tries to speak, and when she's trying to speak, it like she does this weird thing where she like grabs her throat and stuff, and she's like,
or she like back of her head.
Yeah, like holding it really weird. And I feel like that was poorly done.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like the indicator, I guess, of maybe when she needs more fresh blood or her thirst. But I didn't like the way it was executed.
I didn't either.
It was weird and awkward.
And I'm like, how are we supposed to know that's what it is? The thirst for blood.
Yeah, it was just kind of poorly illustrated. For this to be like, it wasn't a very long movie, but it felt longer than it was.
It was only an hour and a half, but it did feel like it was 2 hours.
Yeah. And I will argue that the American couple was almost needed to break up some of the monotony of the in-between.
Running her talons across things.
Yeah. Exactly.
That was the majority of the movie.
Her touching things and
showing off that pedicure.
Wearing her like
pedicure.
her manicure. Her silk like white
negligee
like nightgown. I will say though, like there was again striking images though. Like this is one of those where I just listened to the Time Shifters podcast and they did the Phantom of the Opera episodes where they had the like original and the new one, and they're talking about how things are like a spectacle. Like this almost feels like that. It's a spectacle in some of the scenes. Like if you're wanting to see that kind of like moody kind of like aesthetic. It definitely fits the bill for that.
I don't particularly care about those kind of movies usually.
Yeah, sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't.
I guess it just depends. Yeah, the mood in the movie.
Yeah, Helene, like I said, she's been straight to business, basically trying to like harvest people for her friend. This is where you don't get a lot of gore in between. It does start building up though quite quickly when it does build up. Like it takes a while to get there.
Yeah.
But when you get there, it was a semi-decent payoff, I would say. It culminated fine. As the American couple, basically, they kind of portray them, the woman as being like super nosy, basically, and like not mine. I'm like, this is crazy because I would have, as an American, I feel like you should be minding your own business.
I didn't get that she was American. I thought she was French and he was American.
Maybe, yeah. I just saw the things when I was reading, they referred to them as the Americans.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know. But yeah, I like how she also it culminates with her finally going to the chateau because she's been showing this picture around trying to figure out who this lady is. And they're like, oh, it's like girl like died 2 years ago. And she's like, nah, can't be. Of course, no one's gonna believe this shit. And then, so she goes to the chateau when, like, all this other shit is going down with Helene and Catherine. So
she knows is right in the middle of it.
Yep. And she finally gets her man to go with her. So they both go, and then they both get murked straight up by Helene.
Terrible.
Yeah. Like, no holds bar. So this is when you start getting actually to the horror part more of the movie.
Like I said, I wrote, damn, she lit her whole ass on fire.
Yeah, she lights... Her name was Barbara.
She lights Barbara on fire with a torch.
Yes.
Because they have torches in their vaults. That's how chateau it is. Because
Barb just ran in there when she hears someone crying, screaming, because Helene went to the village and kidnapped some fucking chick straight out of her house. Lies to her and says, like, her boyfriend was in a terrible accident. Like, she's ready.
Ruthless.
She's ruthless. And then she goes and just starts cutting the bitch down in the vaults. Like, she's doing half the work for Catherine. And this is when you finally get to, though, because prior to that, Catherine begs Helene to, like, stop doing it.
And to kill her.
And to kill her. Like, she's telling her, like, I am evil. I am... And then that's where you have the title from, but where she's like, you're treating me as a living dead girl. Like, you're just feeding me to keep me here. And then she's even said, like, basically when it first happened, that she could feel herself going, like, in and out, kind of, basically. And was like, if you would have just let me be, I would have just died again. You know, like, basically... gone back from when she came.
Right.
But Helene, like I said, was so quick to figure it out and start like, feeding her friend, basically. And Helene's been going against Catherine's wishes at this point and is trying to entice her with this girl that she, like, cuts up in front of her. But Catherine's, like, staying strong. She's like, nah, bitch. And that's when Barb comes and gets all nosy. And then that's when Catherine actually releases the girl. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, tell everybody what you saw.
So yeah, it all culminates very quickly at the end with this. Like, this is just boom, 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 kind of one thing after another.
And then Helene straight up axe in the head to the American guy.
Yeah, straight up.
Like, tap, tap, whack.
Whack. And then... Still, like, the fire scene was really cool. And the person running on fire and jumping in that pond.
Yeah,
like, you know that had to have
because I really didn't think that they were going to die, the American couple.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be like the, I thought she was going to be the final girl.
Oh,
Barbara.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay, never mind.
Not what I expected at all. Yeah, they really, it leads up hardcore. So, yeah, and then at this point, Catherine's been left to her own devices. So she just starts walking into the lake.
Meandering.
Very, like, lady of the water.
Yeah. She's like, I'll just go drown myself in the water.
I know. And then Catherine still just rows her little boat, gets in there, grabs her.
And then she's just like, whoop.
Yeah.
Picks her up, carries her like she weighs nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, she's a stout woman.
Yep. And
sturdy.
She's just trying to be like, you know, we're going to get out of here. Let's leave. You know, she's still in this mindset of, like, saving her friend.
She's like, there'll be vampires along the road.
Yeah. And because this is when they at least do mention the, like, pact that they made, kind of, and all of that. And again, this is where it would have tied nicely with the bow. Let's forget about the chemical waste and all this stuff or whatever. And then let's forget about more of the American person. Like, it's fine to have a little bit of them, just to have them, because you know you're going to have them be nosy later and kind of kick off the climax. Like, that's fine. But we should have got more of that backstory of Barb and Catherine and their relationship, because it is almost too open-ended.
You said Barb.
Oh, yeah, no, Helene and Catherine, yeah, because their relationship... I'm like, well, is it a lesbian relationship, or are they really just really close friends? Like, they almost leave it a little too ambiguous, in my opinion.
To me, it definitely seemed like they were...
like, lovers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least wanted to be.
Yeah. So, I just wish we would... But we don't know, because they didn't tell us. Yeah, exactly. They only show us a few things from when they were, like, children. So...
Nothing in between.
There's nothing in between. Yeah, like, if they would have just showed us something in between, or even when they got a little older, so we knew what kind of relationship they had when Catherine actually died. Because, like, said she had the weird stuff where she's like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't actually see you dead. Like, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, so did she even come to the funeral? Like, we don't know. Yeah. So, they have this really great line, though, because, like I said, she's talking about the pact they had and all that. And Helene's just, you know, like, I love you and you're my friend and we're going to be together and I don't want you to leave.
Right.
Wow. And then she's like, Helene, I am your death.
And then eats her.
And I was almost not expecting that. And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I was like, that checks out. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
I wasn't expecting her that either.
Yeah.
And then she, like, gnawed on her neck for a long time before she died.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was well done. The chewy...
The gore eating scene. This was one of the big scenes that was, like, apparently cut a lot. Either cut completely or gruesome. It was done. It was pretty gruesome. Yeah. And they had it to where she's, like, digging down to get, like, the vessels to, like, you know, gush blood and everything. And she's just like, ah. And I do want to point out that in some of the blood gushing scenes, and then, like, they had a really big part when the realtor's boyfriend with his neck, because he was bleeding on his neck. And because he's knowing that he now was a very prominent, like, pornography director, it felt like cum shots. I'm just going to say it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just, like, knowing what I'm like,
You're like, it's interchangeable.
Yeah, that's how it felt. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, yeah, so like I said, overall 2.5 for some of the vibe, but then, it's not going to get anything more. Just because, it, like I said, was really boring in some parts. Some of the acting was atrocious, like on the...
Speaking of him being a porn director, because that love-making scene on the couch was not a very good scene.
I mean, we got to think that's probably like 70s and 80s porn.
I guess.
I don't know what that perspective would be, but I imagine it wasn't that great.
I was like, they're not even making the right motions. It was just kind of a lot of this.
She was just like rubbing on him.
A little bit.
She was just like doing the worm on him.
But like sideways, not a thrusting worm, like a sideways worm.
They were just wallering.
Yeah,
they were just wallering.
I was like, for him to have shot porn.
He's like, no, I need you guys just to waller.
They're like, we got you. I'm a good wallower. He's
funny.
like pigs in a mud.
Yeah, and then a lot of these actresses did not go on to do much more. Some of them went on to do a few more kind of like indie kind of horror or things of that nature. I believe one other girl, the main girl did work on another film with the director. One? Yes, Francois.
Oh, it's a beautiful pronunciation.
So that was it. That was The Living Dead Girl. Not as cannibal as I was expecting.
Yeah, it's vampiric. But it doesn't matter because we were mostly looking forward to Ravenous anyway.
There we go.
This was a filler movie.
This is the filler movie.
This was the appetizer before the main course.
But I'm fine. I'm happy I gave it a watch.
Yeah.
It seems like it has a bit of a cult following somewhat, and I like to kind of mark those off a list sometimes. Mm-hmm. I do kind of wish, just to throw it out there was another film that I was almost going to do, and it's called The Undertaker and His Pals.
I think I've heard of that.
And I may have made you watch it with me before.
Okay.
I had bought it. It was literally a shitty DVD in one of those like almost envelope cases at like a Family Dollar. And it is so campy and just so fun. And it's about like a diner who has to deal with this Undertaker. And it's like there's a biker gang and they'll go and they'll kill like this lady's name, like Mrs. Lamb. And then on the menu the next day it's leg of lamb. Like,
wink.
Yeah, wink. And then like there's a guy who's going to go find like one of the girls missing. And it's kind of convoluted. It's ridiculous. But it was just more fun. Mm-hmm. Like, this one was not that kind of, like, B movie. So where I almost wish I chose that one. I feel like it would have been more fun to talk about. Yeah. But what can you do?
Whatever.
But, I mean, if you guys are interested in films like that, The Undertaker and His Pals is hilarious. You'll have a good time. I really like it.
Mm-hmm. You saw the DVD?
I don't. No, I don't have any of, like, anything from
any
of my past. Hardly. Well, I lost a lot of it.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, so it might be one I'll try to find to like download, to be honest. It's hard to find, I think. I don't know. It might be on Tubi or maybe something like that. Who knows? Well, guys, that was it. And we will be back with the main event of Cannibal Christmas, Ravenous. And also, I had kind of vaguely mentioned where I was wanting to do the Twilight trilogy for like a little Christmas mini-series. I think it'll be more of like a post-Christmas kind of thing. Because I'm going to be taking time off around that time of year. I'm going to try to take like 10 days off of work.
Nice.
Because the way the holiday falls and like stuff like that, I think I can get like maybe 10 days. And so then that would be a good time to delve into that. Binge them. And then we can do little mini-sodes about them.
Nice.
I think that would be fun. So that'll be more of a post-Christmas treat for you to get you through the new year. Because we have not thought about the new year yet or anything like that.
I know. Crossed my mind.
Yeah, I'm having to live for today, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So be on the lookout for that. Again, you can always find us at Film Gazers on the social medias. check out the Film Gazers podcast community on Discord. We are starting to post more often and interact on there. Trying. Yeah. I've been having a good time. I've made so many posts in a row now to where I'm like, running out of ideas again. Yeah, to where I'm like, no, I can't tap out. So I'm still going to try to stick with it when I'm watching random things. I'm going to keep people updated in that. Just get into the habit of doing it.
I need to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it for all the announcements. So with that, time to hit the dusty trail.
Until next time.
Later, taters.
Noise.